I said what I'm doing in very common scientific way, very cold way, and then she will repeat almost the same things or something very similar, or extend this my sentence with some emotions, and it was really successful. You can go to the YouTube and try to find this movie. The name of the movie is Angry Face of Nature, or in Serbian Besno lice prirode. And it was, as I told you, that was one of the first project in which I was involved, mixing the, let's say, the art and science. The director of the movie was Miloš Tomić, and the script was written by myself and a colleague Nataša Đokić. The second thing that I done, which is little bit extension of this, was something which is called augmented lecture, and it's transformation of scientific lecture to some kind of artistic format. And in my case, it was like a theater performance, and also the idea to have collaboration between scientists and artists. And my partner was TKV. She is a graffiti artist from Belgrade. And the show was about my life story, how I try to tell people that it is very dangerous because the planet is it's 1 degree warmer, and people, when they heard that, they think it is just 1 degree, it's not too much, don't panic, and things like that. So I giving, during this performance, I giving some kind of my personal struggle, that how I'm not understood by people, and she do the drawings during that my podcast episode, because it is something like a podcast. And in one moment we join together, etc. And there is also, it's not like just that you have like a classical theater, but you have video, then you have like a music in one moment, then you have like some kind of other interactions with the audience. And the moment when I became like a serious on all this exercise was when I realized how many people is involved in all this production. So we had like a director, we had like a script consultant, we had producers, then we have these executive producers, then we have a guy who do video, then the sound guy, light person for the light. And in that moment, the second thing that came to my mind, that in this kind of projects, this involvement of many people doing on the same job but coming from different directions is super important. Not just for does this performance is going to be successful or not, but when you want to create something which is mix of art and science and numbers and emotions and everything, you need to have people which brings together different things to have this kind of something, some kind of additional value on this pure scientific knowledge. Another project is also, let's say, run by Center for the Science Promotion. It is called Climate Capsule, and it's super interesting. It's a van, and you enter the van, and it's you are in the dark room, and then this guy will appear in that dark room. It's like a hyper realistic man, let's say, but it's not a man. It's sculpture, and it's kinematic sculpture. He's breathing when you see him, and then you put. Then you start to hear the sound, and you will hear the story from the future, from the middle of 21st century, and the guy gonna telling you it's super hot, it's dry, we have droughts, and we lost a very chance to keep climate stable, etc. And the premiere of that van, this is the van, and again you will see many faces that were involved in this project from different perspectives again. And when during the premiere of this van in Novi Sad, it was super hot outside, so it was really like a transition to the future, because when you enter inside, it will be additionally hot, not just hot as outside. And then you heard this story about future heat waves and future problems. But again, as I told you, this is the people that were involved, and I think again that one of the most important things is that you need to have this kind of many different people, many different experiences, many different knowledges to create something which is going beyond of each of us from our let's say this expertise, knowledge, or bubbles in which we are living as a professionals. Another thing is the organization. Two colleagues of mine from Faculty of Dramatic Arts and I started the organization. The name of the organization is Green Art Incubator. Is also I was very excited about that. And the idea was to try to this kind of climate policies or climate aware practices, to try to integrate them in production of theater show or movie or museum or gallery or whatever. So when you do anything of this, when you do production of that, you should follow some kind of rules to be, let's say, climate proof or to be climate safe, or to just to tell the people, okay, we are shooting a movie, but we're not going to burn the forest like they done it in Apocalypse Now. We're going to try to reduce our footprint during the shooting, etc. And we finished several projects, and one of the projects was to create some kind of the toolkit for the producers in culture and arts, how they can deal with these questions related to the footprint of the production of art performances or cultural institution and etc. For me, it's also, I also met a great number of people from this world that were almost unknown for me, and it was really inspirational for me as a person, let's say. And this is one of the last project that I done. It is called Shooting the Cloud. It is performance, I will say, but it's not like a classical art performance. It's some kind of real-time jamming between video montage, sound. I don't know how to call it. Like you have like also in a real-time production of different sounds and words and sentences and information. So the Vida Guzmic was in charge for this real-time video editing. Neža Knez, she was involved for this kind of real-time sound engineering and sound production. And then you had me in the background. I was reading, again, some kind of super scientific information about storms, but in a way that it's not standard scientific presentation. And then we also, in this space, we had some kind of physical interaction with some objects and also some kind of clouds that we produced here using the dry ice. So it's like a 45 minutes of super lively experience, and the whole experience is created in that moment. So if we do this a second time, it will not be same as the first time. So it's a real-time jamming. Like we started for very calm, low-level sound music or some noise, and then we started every one of us doing their job. Vida is video editing, Neža sound editing. I'm reading something or respond to these videos or sounds. And this experience was really, I mean, really high in terms of how unexpected was the whole experience. Another one is called Klimatska kafana in Serbian, but in English is climate tavern. But tavern is not kafana. Kafana is some kind of tavern in Serbia, which is really like a local focal point for the people who living in the neighborhood. And Ilir Gashi and myself, we started this Klimatska kafana. And the Klimatska kafana, it's some kind of, you just enter the kafana, the tavern. You have one journalist from that small town, let's say, who is known in that town. And we entered there, and then journalist said, okay, here we have like a professor from the faculty, and now we can talk about the environmental issues or climate issues of whatever. And we start to talk with the people in kafana. And in one, it started like organized talk, but in one moment, everybody started to talk with each other and to have opinions and everything. So when we done this first time in India, this year in Serbia, the initial trigger for the talk was drought, because the drought becomes super frequent in Serbia, and India is in agricultural area, and they struggle to produce corn as much as in the past. But we finished with the topics like after half an hour or 2 hours of this klimatska kafana, we finished with the topics such as like climate justice. Like it is a super complex topic, and the atmosphere was also very interesting because there were people that had some kind of experience in these topics, but there were also some random people in the beginning they were just interested to hear what we are talking about, but they also started to become part of this understanding, talking, and things like that. On the other side, because I'm presented there as a professor, some of them said like, look, professor, me and my friend, we're arguing for years. Is this true or not true? Now we have professor, you're gonna tell us what is true. So in that sense, is very like a super common communication, like in tavern. It's not like this kind of science communication. And just to maybe make your day a little bit more interesting for the end, this is the climate horoscope. It is a project run by my faculty. So we created climate horoscope. I will not tell you how we created and how it works, but you have three signs: cool, normal, and hot. And depending on month in which you are born and year, you will be one of these three signs. And then if you look these years, you will see that people who are born after 2001, there are bigger chance that they're going to be hot due to the climate change. And we published this on our LinkedIn page without we just wanted to make our friends like to make a joke for them. But after a few days, the local journal, the news portal, picked up this from our LinkedIn page, and they announced, look, people, after like normal horoscope, then Indian horoscope, Chinese horoscope, etc. Now we have a climate horoscope, and they have like free signs. So it was very interesting that this kind of unusual way how you will tell the people that climate is changing, like everybody is interested in horoscope, was really like a good hook. How you can go into the mainstream media with zero effort in terms to organize any kind of PR campaign or everything like that. We just had this public attention, let's say by chance, but the topic was like a super interesting for many people, so media recognized that. Okay, that's from my side. Of course, if you have any questions, we can talk about that later. Thank you for listening to me, and thank you one more time for calling me to present this.
Thank you very much. So we will have time at the end of Olfa's presentation for the questions and answers. So thanks again, Vladimir, and Olfa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Fran, and thank you, Professor Vladimir, for your presentation. And thank you also, Casa Arabic team, for inviting me. I'll go through my notes so we can have a more structured, let's say, presentation. I don't have a PowerPoint, but I have two videos that Fran will help me playing it. So yeah, very happy to contribute to this conversation and also to bring an additional experience to what also Professor Vladimir has shared as a contribution to, let's say, climate awareness and resilience. So very quickly, I will be presenting Femina Network, which is an evolution for North African initiative, as Fran have said it, around creativity, sound, and gender equality. We have launched educational programs in both Tunisia and Morocco since 2018 in digital music, storytelling. We have also implemented like a training program around podcast, content creation, and through media. We did the media awareness, also very important component. The media, we had introduced a gender-based, let's say, like awareness campaign around gender-based violence. It's called the 16 GJs of Activism. So it's a response to the 16 days of activism, and it went viral, and we were in the media for 2 years. So very important also how to create such a hook with a very little or zero budget money. Yeah, we have like also introduced this the green and sustainable awareness through like in music and podcast as a subject in the beginning, and later, and I will introduce it more in detail. We have also shaped, let's say, new trajectories, and also I will explain it later. So besides depicting, let's say, climate change as a subject or as a challenge of high priority to integrate to like our art and culture programming, we know like very important simple gesture, environmental friendly measures in terms of waste recycling, as well as green mobility and touring. And then a great turn in our project development happened in one of our projects. You will see the videos later. When we had our artistic residency with Women X, which is a career development program in 3 countries, among them Tunisia, France, and Albania. And it's a career development program for that promotes like women and gender non-conforming artists in mid-career in sound, and more focusing on electronic music. And we had our artistic residency of the Bridging Women X in Tabarka. And we had 12 artists coming from the 3 countries. And that summer was very, very hot, like one of the hottest summer we have ever experienced, like 50 degrees more. Maybe we can also have the video, the first video to introduce the project. It's very quick, 1 minute, 30 seconds.
One moment.
Yeah, thank you, Fran. And I forgot to mention that this is Creative Europe supported project, funded project. As you might see in the video, we have chosen like a rural location as a manifestation of our ecological awareness, and to invite also artists and the team to reconnect and connect to nature, but also to support ecotourism. So as a cultural invaders, we have invaded this eco lodge and transform it to an artistic space and a studio. And yeah, what happened that in that residency, that when we arrived, a fire started in the forest, in the mountain next to the place where we were. And so maybe a very quick info about the place. This is in Tabarka. It's a coastal town located in the northwest of Tunisia, close to the border with Algeria. So, and I was saying it was a 50 something degrees. So even during their way to the to the location, the bus had just stopped, and they had to to have a pause because the bus was like very warm. Maybe we can also see to have an idea the second video front, please. So we can also have it's a drone shooting, so from the landscape to see yeah, also the fire. So yeah, so this is, you will notice later where we have, and luckily they had a pool like in this eco lodge, so the artist can have a refresh, like fresh moment. It Yeah, yeah. So, and I think there is also a part where we can see okay, that's yeah. So we were in the middle of this in between. There was like two wildfire. So yeah, that's also what that like this impacted a bit the artistic residency, because we had like electricity cuts, water cuts, and that's also the time where we were like starting to reflect in our artistic production. We said like maybe we would never have an artistic residency happening in the summer. And then we were like and luckily actually we have we had what is it, an insurance, like a civic insurance, but it has also climate related disasters covered. So the whole team and though we didn't know about the fire, it's just for us to ensure everybody security, but also the artists were saying, oh, are we safe? Is the fire is away? But in this eco lodge, they were also surrounded by like a canal, so there was like very risk was yeah, very minimal. And that's the time actually, that's the turn of the way we envision from simple actions, environmental friendly measures, whatever, greening, what does it mean, greening the music? What does it mean, like honoring with the Green Deal policy? So yeah, that was a lot of reflection, and then we started to kind of prototype and co-design a new project, a new idea from bridging Woman Next to Bridging Ecologies. And that was also the moment that artists themselves were started to reflect on their own sound practices, but also different contemporary artistic practices, and how they can integrate not only about awareness, but it's also about reconnecting to the to nature, because I think we are, yeah, it's important to understand that we are beyond the 1% degree, and this what does it mean, but in a very practical and like in micro, very micro level, what does it mean? And I think one of the most important part is to listen to the nature, to be connected to the nature. So yeah, we heard a lot of artists saying like wanting, and there was this desire of integrating plant-based, nature-based sound practices. So yeah, so that's we come up with the praxis. So it has this research, but also practice component around different aspects, and how to actually bring together artists with the cultural worker, professionals, to rethink together what can be, how we can do much more than it is. And I think we all agree, as Professor Vladimir was saying, it's important that art meet science, and science meet arts, for like I don't know also if the American soundscape Bernie Krause has been doing a research for the 55 past years, and he's been collecting. He's known for the, I think, the Birds Orchestra. Maybe you heard about it. So he's been collecting, he has recorded more than 5,000 hours of wild nature, terrestrial and marine soundscape, including 15,000 animal species. And according to his also research, but his like you can find many articles, including in recent article on the Guardian, he's saying like 70% of the habitat that he's been recording has disappeared. So that's also, yeah, I mean, even he's like, maybe also Professor Vladimir can also say about like, as climatologist, that this element of the nature that have been like science have been recording the soundscape around nature, around oceans and water, to monitor actually yeah, I mean, this climate evolution. So yeah, I mean, that's also I think a joint reflections. It's not only about policies, it's not about institution, but also in the making what we can bring to the I mean to the discussion, and address those questions. It's yeah, and I mean, this is a very big, very I mean, simple example of how the artist encountered or are encountering the climate change. Yeah, I think, yeah, so for us, like, it's not only about ecology, it's not only about nature. So we also, it's related a lot about the care, the care as a practice, the working conditions. So we need like a comprehensive also approach to tackle the climate change in a very, you know, sometimes it can be very basic. So what we can also improve, you know. Yeah, so I think that's all from my side.
Thank you very much, Olfa. So we are going to open the Q&A session. I see in the chat one comment from the Institute of Archaeology. Maybe Yelena, do you want to add something to Professor Đurđević? Colleagues? Yelena.
Yes. Do you hear echo or I'm okay?
It's more or less okay.
Okay. So first of all, thank you, Professor Vladimir and Olfa, for joining us in this webinar. I really enjoyed your presentations and these good cases from which we really can learn. We were lucky at the Institute that we met Professor Đurđević in person, and we had, you know, longer to chat on several topics regarding climate change and ecological practices. And more or less, I know his opinion, so I know that we are on the same line in many aspects. But I just wanted, my question was, what I noticed is that we in culture and in science really are trying to find some solutions, and whether they are theoretical or we are trying something in practice. And I think that culture is very positive example, but where I don't see any concrete moves is industry. And somehow we are used to pay, you know, big, how to say, prices to some consultants, experts, etc. But I think that in this case, maybe we can switch the roles, you know, and position culture and science as positive examples. And I just wanted to ask you, and maybe this is also for Olfa, because you're really doing some concrete practices and you have some concrete results. Is there any chance to make them learn from us and take us as positive examples to make some changes in practice? Thank you.
Okay, the question is not easy one. Because we know that, I mean, especially this kind of super big industries and companies and everything, they're working on profit, and to make them listen, you need to talk about the profit. So my personal experience, for example, because I collaborate with many different people and profiles and everything. So also, let's say, people from financial sectors contact me from time to time to give them presentation about climate change and everything. All these risks for drought, storms, and things like that. And when they started to contact me, because like many years ago, the first NGO started to contact me like 10 or 15 years ago, trying to learn more about this topic. After that started, I don't know, civil society organization, and then this art or art production people and things like that. But in the last few years, this financial sector, like the last 5 to 6 years, this financial sector become interesting in this topic. And the reason why they're interesting, because they see that they lose the money. And when they see that they lose the money, they're happy to talk about that. If they don't lose the money, they're not so happy to talk about that. But on the other side, I think that if you choose your, let's say, target audience with whom you want to communicate and to present them this kind of idea, I mean that from my point of view, one of the most important thing is to talk their language. Okay, you need to learn their language and to learn what are trigger points for them in their language and to talk that language. If you talk your language, then you probably will not be heard by other, let's say, communities or other sectors, other industries, etc. So for me, but on the other side, when you start to talk with someone and you show them this kind of showcases or this kind of practices, they will be interested to do something, because they're gonna say, look, these people are doing something, we're not doing anything, or we're doing a little bit. Why we should be like so passive about that? Let's try to do something in that way. So this is, let's say, the kind of recipe from my experience. I'm not trained to think about in this kind of systematic way how you approach people and how you do PR or how you do some kind of promotion and try to engage people in something. I don't have any kind of formal knowledge on that, but I have this kind of experience talking to many different groups and people and profiles, and that is my, let's say, my kind of advice, to first to try to talk their language, and after that showing them how some people are doing that, make them inspired to they also can do something. I would just want to reflect just for a second, because I forgot during the presentation, because Olfa presentation triggered that in me. It's that this real-time jamming performance with Neža Knez and Vida Guzmic, which is called Shooting the Cloud. How that started? It started by Neža's experience. She's an artist. She's primarily she's a sculptural artist, but she moved from that in some kind of video sound performing visual arts or something like that. But she experienced superstorm in Croatia like a few years ago. The superstorm is very violent storm structure which can make trees fall down and great floods. And she was, let's say, in the center of that for an hour and two. And she was so scared that she decided to learn why that is called superstorm, and why it is so violent, and why am I experiencing this in 2023 and never experienced that anything of that in the last 25 years? Our storms really become stronger in comparison to the storms in the past? And she started to explore that. In one moment we find it because she tried to have some kind of let's say, this kind of professional advice or knowledge on the storms, and that's how all this performance was created. It's created because she had some kind of gut feeling that she must learn about this, and she must understand why it's so violent and so strong. It's similar to these wildfires that in the moment when artists experience wildfires and maybe start to be aware of these super hot conditions and everything. But for these questions, as I said, I mean, the first step is try to learn their language, the group that you want to approach. For me, it's like something that it's not easy sometimes, but probably the best way to start is to try to learn the language of the people that you want to approach.
Thank you. I see Ivo's hand. Please, Ivo.
Yeah, thank you. I have a question that has to do with evaluation of these things. I did a master's thesis on the communication of scientific information through artistic media. And one of the things that in my research I found quite staggering was how rare it is for initiatives that try to convey science through art measure the educational output of those activities. How many of it's very rare for them to actually monitor if children or grown-ups learned any scientific concepts or ideas after the exposure. And it's even more rare to have a comprehensive analysis of those educational outputs. I think I only remember seeing 1 or 2 studies that accompanied the same group of people for 5 years to see how long those ideas kind of manifested, which is, I would say, it's what we expect on any educational circumstance. It's what we expect, for example, from school, right? You don't just learn things, remember them for 2 weeks, and then forget. It's that knowledge should be with you So I was wondering if in these activities that you were showing us, if there is an evaluation framework, and if you see that it has any long-term consequences in the way in which the participants, the children or grown-ups or whatever, if you can measure how they can transform information into knowledge and then hopefully knowledge into wisdom in some kind of capacity. Thank you.
So we
Olfa, you can go,
start?
please. If you have any information, please, because one, if you have any, please go.
Yes, maybe not in this particular project, but we've been involved in another project with actually with the academia. It was a consortium with the universities from UK and cultural organizations from the Maghreb around displacement and vulnerabilities. So we had a group of migrants, sub-Saharan migrants, artists, and a group of Tunisian artists, but also other artists coming from the Middle East and Europe. And the idea was to tackle the data, the scientific data in an artistic way. So I don't know, it's a more like research based, but I'm not sure. It's not really an evaluation, but I can also share the findings. So I did also contribute in this let's say project with some of the commentary, not really in an academic, but it has somehow an academic and research element into it. So what we did, it was a performance. So we come with actually we spent almost 1 year with the artists we invited them for to share a meal, and then we had an artistic residency during I think 3 months during the summer, where we were working together on a sound that's been produced by a Tunisian artist, but we have invited multidisciplinary artists with the dance, with the movement, and how do we access it actually to the community? We were in churches because this is where we found the community. So we need to understand where we can access the communities. So from that time, we had also interviews that we translated into podcasts. So from this research questions, we transform it into a podcast series. And from this, let's say, residue storytelling, we how do I say it? So we feed the let's say the academia, the research body of work, and then again, so it's an iteration. It's a back and forth, let's say, between creativity, artistic creation, and academic results. And this is so there is we have developed a different framework, also an AGI, it's an equality, diversity, inclusion framework. We have ethics framework, and we come out with artistic outputs, performance videos, storytelling, podcasts, and then articles. I don't know if this responds to your question in terms of monitoring and evaluation, but it's broad also what is in MNE. So I don't know, but I will share the link of the project in the chat.
Okay, I have also to add something. This augmented lecture that I mentioned, it's like a theater show. The concept is developed by Andrea Brunello. It's a artist from Italy, but also he has a PhD in physics. And maybe you heard about him because he's known in this world, let's say, science, art, communication, learning, blah blah blah. And within the concept, because he learned us, like a few of us in Serbia, he came to Serbia. It was a part of Curious project. He came to Serbia, and let's say we spent with him like a 2-3 days, and he learned us what we need to do. But the part of the project is that before the show, which is similar to theater show, before the show, the audience need to go through the quiz of 10 to 15 questions. And after the show is finished, they again go through the quiz from 10 to 15 questions, and the whole questions are related to the topic. It's not the same questions, but somehow they're same. They try to be focused on the same information, and that's how you measure does they learn something during the show. Even you never said something intentionally to make them to know something new. And for example, for this show that I've done, which is called Just One, and it's about the climate change, they measured that this knowledge jumped from, I don't know, average score of 4.5 to 8.2 or something. Okay, but this is not like enough information. My advice is to approach Andrea Brunello and maybe to ask him, because I think that he done this like training in several countries, and in some countries they also organize something which is called Theater of Wonder, which is theater festival, and all theater shows on the festival are this kind of augmented lecture, and all the part of each performance is this quiz before and quiz after the lecture. So he integrated in the methodology, he integrated this kind of evaluation, how much people learned after the half an hour or 45 minutes of show. But for all other, I mean, for Kafana, I'm not sure how we can measure what people learned. It's more like some kind of retreat experience when people came and say everything what they have on their souls and in their hearts. And it's in that way, the experience is some kind of healing. It's not that you need to learn something, but more like to go through the process of healing, because you have so many pressure around your head, and then you can openly talk about some of the things with the people and have a drink, of course.
Great, thank you. Is there any other questions? I have a question for Olfa, and it's very concrete. How do we create music with plants? Because, I mean, I understand the recording of the birds, but how do you, I mean, in practical terms, you do that?
I mean, I'm not the expert in this, but I've seen and many experience, like how we call it, what is it, through preceptor. I don't know if this is the right word, that you connect to the plant, and they but also I've seen very interesting experience around also the memory that the nature and the plants carries, and how this can be transferred also through sound. So yeah, very technical aspect, but I mean, this is also something that many artists are trying to think of beyond just field recording and recording soundscapes. And I think we need equipment for that, and we need science, and we need maybe very quick comments around the economic and the capital element. I think we need to also develop a business case. It is obvious, I think, but it needs to be also documented and made it very clear to the economy, because it has a huge replication, no? And from, like, if you I mean, very simple. Or if you encounter such a crisis, and it is scary, it has an implication on the mental health, then it has direct implication on productivity. This is one element of the business cases that can be developed. So I think now we need to come together from different, sectors, cross disciplines, and think of. I mean, we have the policies, right? But we need the business case now for the climate justice.
Thank you, Olfa.
Let's do it.
And I have a question for Vladimir. As you know, the main target group of the project are young generations for Green Heritage. So how was your experience, Vladimir, in your different activities and projects with young people? And what would you recommend for us to implement for engaging young participants? And how was your experience in Serbia, at least?
Yeah, again, we need to talk their language. I mean, if you want to approach someone with I mean, the problem with the climate change, because it's not like a super pressing issues as some others issues, like because the psychology and biology of humans are this kind of action when you see immediate threats, like something approaching you and you take action. If this threat is in time distance from you, like even for a few months or a few years, or remote threat somewhere else, and threat is currently over some other people, not yourself, the people are not so interested to be engaged, comparing to other like conflicts now in the world. I mean, everybody focused on conflicts or on politics or on economic crisis and everything. So the focus is there. So, and the climate change is in the focus when something is happening. Okay, if you have wildfires in California, the whole news on the western part of the world will be full about the climate change and the wildfire in California and everything. On the other side, if you have a floods in Eastern Africa, nobody will know, and you will have like 300,000 people, refugees because of that floods, and nobody will know. And in that sense, it's a big problem to have a focus of other people on this topic, like climate change, because many people will be focused if something is happening. And when something is happening in Western part of the world, then you will have like a focus, but that focus will be because they're producing this global news. But if you have on the other part, you will not have focus, and then you will lose that kind of push people or make people interested to learn something new. In that sense, I think we still need to fight for the attention of people on this topic. We need to have some kind of strategy how we're gonna grab their attention. In general, again, in communication, you probably know in science, in climatology, you have these climate deniers and climate skeptics. Okay, and in each scientific topic, you have like a 10% of people who are skeptical about something, about the vaccination, about is it Earth flat or not, and they're hardcore of this skepticism, and you cannot fight for them. And then you have like a 10% of people who are on the other side, like warriors, like I call them like climate warriors, the people who are really interested in the topic. They have time to read about that. They have time to be informed about that. They will go to any kind of public debate. They will read almost all articles in media about the climate change. And then you have like 80% of people who are not skeptics or deniers or not interested in that, but they just don't have time to be informed of everything. And we should, let's say, we should fight, not really fight, but we should try to get their attention. And the best way to get their attention is to speak their language. And in case of younger generation, we also need to speak their language. And I think today the younger generation are much more aware about these environmental problems in comparison to my generation when I was young. And on one side, that can be our advantage because they are already better informed in comparison to us in terms of age. So it will be easy to have their attention. But as I said, we need to talk their language and to find a way to approach them by their tools and their, I don't know, their way of living, let's say. Because in Serbia you have my colleague Tijana Prodanović, she's astrophysicist, and she has a TikTok account related to astrophysics. And she really, I mean, it's for me, I don't have like skills, and I'm not don't have courage to do that, to have a TikTok account for the climate, you know. But she somehow managed, you know. She has like I'm not sure, but maybe 10,000, 20, 30,000 probably young people that follows her, and she only talks about like a scientific topics. Majority of them are astrophysics. But why not? I mean, if somebody has like a skills and enough, I don't know, knowledge how to do that, I mean, the TikTok is the best way to approach younger generation. And that's the reason why this Minecraft story is also successful in younger generation. It's just what I recommended. It's already implemented.
Yes, totally right. Ivo, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something that came to my mind while Vladimir was talking about this, the fact that in these kind of polemic topics, we find at least three types of populations with different attitudes. We have the people who are all in, the people who are all out, and then the people who don't really care. And I think it's interesting sociologically, because all of these are non-scientific attitudes, right? Science is a process, it's a method. You're not supposed to agree or disagree. You're not supposed to like or dislike. You're supposed to engage with it and understand things. That's the goal. In archaeology, I remember as a kid, it was very common in my region for archaeologists to have open digs where everybody could participate. And people who participated in them understood the archaeological process. They were not just engaging with historical facts because someone told them. They were participating in the process of understanding how you go from finding artifacts and working your way into an understandable narrative that makes sense of the evidence that you're finding. Everybody was engaging with this. And because of this, you didn't really have this kind of discrepant or polemic fights. The evidence is there. There's nothing you can do about it. And one of the things that I feel that fails on climate quite often is that the people who are engaged with this are too invested on convincing people rather than working the facts with them. There's a group of people who wants to sell one idea that climate doesn't exist. There's another group of people who wants to sell another idea that climate is the worst thing that ever happened. But there's very little people who are open to start, for example, a summer school for people of all ages that says, okay, we're going to spend the next 3-4 weeks collecting data and then processing that data, analyzing that data, understanding that the scientific process will look at evidence and produce these ideas. And I think that approach would be a more scientific approach. It would probably be a little bit more resilient to these somewhat political attitudes that unfortunately plague the whole topic.
Yelena, please.
Well, I can already, yes. Thank you. Well, I would just like to refer to all the things that you mentioned, and I can say that I agree with everything, and particularly mentioning TikTok approach in sharing knowledge. It's a very good example, and we had already several projects, and this is something we are tending also at the Institute to cherish the proper communication with younger audience, because we understood that our generation is more or less formed I mean, you cannot change very much this type of people and their opinions, but you can work with young generation. And that is why in this project, we go to Minecraft as communication tool exactly to pass some messages. But also we need to be aware that now the platform of sharing the knowledge are social networks. And not only that you have bright examples like this astrophysics colleague who is speaking, but truthfully, scientifically, but there are so many pseudo-scientific information on social networks. And this is something that we also need to be aware, because exactly as you said, Professor Đurđević, these flat earth thinkers and climate non-believers, climate change non-believers, they're on a social network. And they are now, these platforms gave an opportunity to everybody to have opinion, which is public. Earlier, for somebody to share publicly the opinion needed to be proven scientist. So then TV or radio would call you according to your references and books, and you will be, on TV sharing your opinion. But now, thanks to social networks, everybody can talk about anything. And, for people, it's always easiest to catch up with some easy handled information than the scientific truth, because for the scientific truth, as Ivo said, you need a process to pass through and understand. And finally, I think that is why the regular science, I mean, we are also responsible as scientists because pseudoscience is present, which means that we are not enough present online. We need to be more there, more active, and more funny not only funny, but understandable in sharing our thoughts and missions. And finally, speaking of evaluation, which is also, as I saw, very important question that Ivo rose, I think, when you look at the school, Ivo, even in formal education, you have a proper evaluation, but that doesn't mean knowledge. Sometimes the grade is not a reflection of knowledge. Maybe it is some kind of knowledge is not relevant immediately, like that you can obviously see it after Vladimir performance or talk or whatever. But some messages are, in kids' heads. And there is some moment when these messages will be triggered, like, oh, yes, I know about this, or I remember this, or I can use this information. So I think that basically all questions that we raised today are very important for our project as well as good references to think about and somehow implement. And one of the colleagues from Green Art Incubator, Vladimir, from the project where you participated, they asked me, look, we created some policies regarding this, so will you use them? Well, I think that now is the moment to think about strategies and policies, how to implement all of this. So I'm just trying to make a recap of everything that we did, Franz, so that we can, make some synopsis for ourselves to know how to use all of these valuable lessons that we tackled today. And thank you very much, everyone, for pointing out all of these important topics.
So, any other question? Don't be shy. If you don't have more questions, maybe we can close this webinar. So thank you, Olfa and Professor Đurđević for your participation. It was extremely interesting. You're doing amazing job. Congratulations. And for the members of the community of practice, see you on the 28th May. We will present the Green Heritage Pedagogical Framework. And we will send you all the information next week with the agenda and everything. So thanks again and see you very soon.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank
you
you all.
all.
Bye. Bye.